We have so much to be thankful for within our community, from a wide variety of dedicated and committed citizens on a variety of subjects, to a city staff that really steps forward and serves our citizens in very outstanding ways and makes Batavia very proud to be a government in which we respond to people's needs. As always, we also want to send a special blessing on those from our community who are serving in our public safety departments. Given what we have seen as the challenges and the tragedies and the issues that are being befronted by them in the communities surrounding us, we are ever mindful of the vital mission that they perform on a day-to-day basis, and we are ever thankful for the great service provided to us by the men and women of these agencies. Also tonight, as always, we want to remember those from our community who are serving in foreign service in defense of the liberties of the United States of America, and we just ask that a special blessing be showered upon them. Also, as always, we want to ask for vision and understanding and compassion and dedication as we go about making the decisions on our agenda tonight, knowing that in the hearts and minds of each member of the City Council, we are here to do what we feel is in the very best interest of our community and its great people. We ask for all these blessings. Amen. Amen. Alderman Rosado, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, reminder to everybody that we will ask that if you come up to address us tonight, that you please use the microphone. As you all, I believe, are aware, these meetings are all televised on TV, and we have the cameras activated, and they are being broadcast out on our public access TV right now. And so it's important that everybody uses the mic so that they can be heard specifically on the TV network. And the first next thing is item number 5, items to be removed.
I need to do the roll call.
Roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
We need to do the roll call. That's why we have this clerk here. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Here.
Rosado.
Here.
Atack. Here. Stark. Here. Chanzit.
Here.
Wolf.
Here.
Salvati.
Here.
O'Brien.
Here.
Callahan. Meitzler.
Here.
Moe.
Here.
Ewer.
Here.
Zerone.
Here.
McFadden.
Here.
Let the record reflect that 13 of the 14 elected aldermen are present and accounted for, so we have the necessary quorum to conduct business. And Alderman Callahan did contact me earlier in the day and expressed his regrets that he couldn't make the meeting. He had some other conflicts that he was dealing with this evening. All right, moving back to where I left off before I was correctly interrupted. We'll move then to items to be removed, added, or changed on the agenda. Do we have anything tonight from the council staff? All right. In a very high moment here, we're going to go to item number 6, which is the issuing of oaths of office to 2 newly appointed officers to the Batavia Police Department. I'd ask Chief Dan Ewell if you'd come up and introduce these 2 gentlemen to the City Council, after which I will perform the duties of giving them the oaths of office.
Do one at a time here.
What?
We do them one at a time, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Evening, first I'd like to introduce Probation Officer David Sod. David, if you could step forward, please. If you want to bring your family up too. It's up to you. David Sod joined the police department on March 7th, 2019, and is a graduate of the Suburban Law Enforcement Academy at the College of DuPage. He has come to the department with a previous experience as a police officer, where he has most recently served as an officer in the Rockdale and Wonder Lake police departments. He is a resident of the western suburbs and a graduate of West Aurora High School. He has also attained his Associate's in Arts degree from Wawansie Community College. Officer Sod is currently in the beginning stages of our field training and evaluation process, and he's temporarily assigned to our day shift.
All right, officer, if you join me up here in the center, we got to get positions so you're not here. Excuse me with my mic here. Sure. If you'd raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, and state your name.
I, David Sod,
Having been appointed
having been appointed
to the position of probationary police officer
to the position of a probationary police officer
on March 7th, 2019,
on March 7, 2019,
with the Batavia Police Department
with the Batavia Police Department
in the city of Batavia,
in the city of Batavia,
in the counties of Kane and DuPage,
in the counties of Kane and DuPage,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of probationary police
of
officer
probationary police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Okay, the next officer I'd like to introduce is probationary officer Jose Barrera. He was also hired as a probationary officer with the city of Batavia on March 7th, 2019. Officer Barrera comes to us with prior law enforcement experience, having recently served as a police officer for the city of Chicago. Jose received his basic law enforcement training at the Chicago Police Academy in 2018. He grew up in the Chicago area and attended high school at Walter Payton Prep. He's also a graduate of Concordia University in River Forest, where he played collegiate basketball and received his bachelor's degree in physical education. Officer Barrera additionally has previous experience working with children, serving as a middle school physical education teacher for the Chicago Public School District. He is currently in the beginning stages of his field training and evaluation process, and he's currently serving on our afternoon shift.
Join me up here on the camera range. If you would raise your right hand and repeat after me, I state your name,
I, Jose Barrera,
having been appointed
having been appointed
to the position of probationary police officer
to the position of probationary police officer
on March 7th, 2019,
on March 7, 2019,
with the Batavia Police Department
with the Batavia Police Department
in the city of Batavia,
in the city of Batavia,
in the counties of Kane and DuPage,
counties of Kane and DuPage,
do solemnly swear and affirm
do solemnly swear, affirm,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of probationary police officer
of probationary police officer
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Consent. Consent agenda.
Now we go to the consent agenda. Yep. Okay, moving then to item number 7, which is presentation of tonight's consent agenda. Alderman Atek, as Chairman of Governmental Services Committee, would you present that, please?
Yes. The consent agenda reads as follows. Accept and place on file Historic Preservation Commission minutes for February 25th, 2019. Committee of the Whole minutes for February 19th, 2019. Building reports February 2019. Approvals March 8th, 2019 payroll in the amount of $883,932.33. Accounts payable check register in the amount of $3,412,883.51. City Council minutes for March 4th, 2019. Ordinance 19-13 amending the zoning code table 2.403 land use regulations downtown mixed use district. Darren Enger, applicant. Resolution 19-029-R, approval of the 2019 zoning map. Ordinance 19-17, annexing to 705 to 723 Pine Street. Ordinance 19-18, annexing 34W144 Geesey Road. Ordinance 19-19, annexing 514 Roberts Lane. Resolution 19028-R, authorizing execution of a master service agreement with Bowling Lock for Phase 3 engineering services. Bollinger Lock, sorry. Resolution 19-20, 2019-031-R, authorizing execution of a contract with Schroeder and Schroeder of Skokie, Illinois for the 2019 sidewalk and curb replacement program in the amount of $125,000. Resolution 19-023-R, authorizing purchase of water meters. I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Moved by Alderman Atek, second by Alderman Stark for the approval of the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion?
Your Honor, just one point I just wanted to bring attention to, Resolution 19-31-R, the sidewalk replacement and curb replacements, that should have a map available on the website, so if anybody wants to see where that's at or know what's going to happen, it's out there, and then there'll also be, I think, sending out flyers to the people that are affected, the houses that are affected, so everybody will know where it's at. Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll on the consent agenda then.
Atek?
Aye.
Stark?
Aye.
Jansit? Wolf?
Aye.
Salvati?
Aye.
O'Brien?
Aye.
Meitzler?
Aye.
Millet?
Aye.
Ewer?
Aye.
Saron?
Aye.
McFadden?
Aye.
Brown?
Aye.
Rosado?
Aye. Consent agenda is approved, 13 yes, noes, 1 absent. Okay, moving to item number 8, matters from the public for items not on the agenda. Do we have anything this evening? Okay. Presentations. We are very honored tonight to have some representatives from the Batavia High School Post-Prom Committee, and we are very pleased tonight that we're going to be able to present a check to them in the amount of $3,000. And Chief Ewell, you want to come up to the podium? We have the ladies here from the Post-Prom Committee.
Good evening. Here is flying.
I'm very happy on behalf of the city of Batavia to present you with a $3,000 check for your post-prom event. So good luck and hopefully it's a safe event.
Thank you. We just want to say thank you on behalf of the Batavia High School students and staff and parents for this generous check. Thank you so much. As you know, we've been chairing Batavia Post Prom for many years now, and this is our last year. All of our kids are going to be out of the high school for a while, or we're letting other people take over for next year. So we've got 3 great people taking over for us next year. So we're excited about that and excited to continue doing this tradition that's been long-lasting in Batavia and helps our kids to have a fun, safe event after the prom. So thank you so much for providing this for us.
And I just want to say on behalf of the community to thank you two and those on your committee for doing this. This really, I think, is a very meaningful and special moment in the life of young people going through high school, and the fact that you're able to kind of extend it and do it in the safe and sound manner that you do, I think speaks wonders. I'm very proud of this program that we began many years ago, and it began because we have a very diligent and aware police department, and they started watching what was happening in all of our liquor licenses in town, and we started finding that there was some breakdown on service of minors. And so we, every year, maybe once, twice a year, Chief Ewell instructs his people to go out and do a compliance check on all 53 licenses. And not everybody, unfortunately, abides by the rules. And when they don't, I become the big bad guy in the room because I'm the liquor commissioner, and they immediately are assessed a fine. But going back, I think to maybe Alderman Brown's first term in office, we had a discussion here one night about this whole activity, and it was the decision of the city council at that time that any money that's generated by the fines from compliance checks by the police department goes into a special fund of which it's not taxpayer money. We're not dinging any taxpayer for any of this. This is all money that's been generated by the police department in enforcement actions, and therefore it was the desire of the city council and endorsed by the police department that they wanted to see this money specifically go to programs that provided drug and alcohol abuse education and programs that helped further that idea along. And this fits directly into that model. And so we're very honored that we have this money to give you. Unfortunately, we still have some people that aren't abiding by the rules, and our police department is there to chase it all down. And so hopefully to anybody that thinks they're going to sell to a minor, they know that we'll be on the doorstep with an undercover team at some time in the next 12 months checking them out. And you better be abiding by the rules or you'll be contributing to this fund next year. So I just want everybody to know how this whole thing works. And it's a program I'm flattered in some regard because I've had 2 mayors from other parts of the suburban region asked me about it. They had heard about it and said, that's a wonderful idea. I think I'm going to impose that in my town. So we're a trendsetter here with this, and so you guys are too. So thank you for what you do, and again, we wish you the very best. What's the date of the prom this year?
May 4th.
May 4th. Okay, very good. So,
Coming fast.
yeah, and it's an all-nighter for you people in the
It is
teams.
an all-nighter. I'm a little too old for the all-nighter.
So you want to make any comments?
I know we do appreciate, we're always kind of sad to know that there are people who are selling alcohol to minors, but we're really grateful that we have this opportunity to do something really fun for our students. We've heard more than once that sometimes our students think that post-prom is even more fun than prom. Prom's the dress up and the really tense, exciting moment, and then post-prom you just come, and it's a chance for them to all be together. And we just stuff them full of food. We have some really fun raffle baskets, and Funway's been a really, really nice host. So we really love the fact that it's right here in town. So it's just a great event for everybody involved, and we're really grateful for everybody that's helped. There's a rumor the mayor may be able to step by this year. So. Just a rumor. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work. Appreciate all your time.
Get your skates, Mr. Mayor.
You got a skates? I like dance.
Okay.
That's enough. That's so weird. Get up.
All right, special moments are not over with yet. We now have a presentation of a proclamation that we've authored at the City of Batavia to specifically honor the Clark family, who has been one of the true backbones of our community for a number of years as the owners of Avenue Motors, first on Batavia Avenue, and then, I think they can proudly say they were the original developers of the first sites on Randall Road, or at least they got the zoning discussion started about doing it. And so John and his wife are here in the audience tonight, but John represents the 3rd generation, or he had his sons in it when the business finally closed, but he represents the 3rd generation of his family to be in the auto sales business in our community, and it's really been a monumental positive force within the Batavia community. So Alderman Atek, would you read the proclamation?
Yes. City of Batavia Proclamation. Whereas Avenue Motors Sales was founded by William H. Clark, known as Scoop, in 1930 and operated by 4 generations of Clark family for 81 years in the city of Batavia. And whereas the name Avenue Motors was derived from the fact that the original location of the dealership was at 24 North Avenue, Batavia. And whereas in 1988, when there were little more than cornfields as far as the eye could see on Randall Road, Don Clark, son of William, had the foresight to move the dealership from its original location on Batavia Avenue to the corner of McKee Street and Randall Road. In a letter dated February 23, 2000, Mayor Jeffrey D. Shelkey wrote Don, in part, as follows: "Your role and far-sighted vision in setting the stage and crafting the political mindset necessary many years ago that set the Randall Road expansion plan into action is part of our history and public record. And whereas Avenue Motor Sales enjoyed an excellent reputation throughout its existence as both a premier dealership and an expert mechanical service provider, and whereas in its heyday, Avenue Motor Sales employed 48 people and generated more than $300,000 in sales tax revenue for the city of Batavia, and whereas Avenue Motor Sales supported many organizations in the community such as Batavia Rotary Club, boys baseball and soccer, and was a charter member of the Batavia Chamber of Commerce. And whereas in the current generation, John W. Clark, along with his sons J.D. and Jim, operated the dealership until 2009, when the dealership closed in the wake of the bankruptcy filing by General Motors. And whereas the Clark family, since closing the dealership, has sought a buyer for its property that would redevelop the site in a way that would be beneficial to the future prosperity of the city of Batavia. And after that, several years of having to bear the cost of carrying the property, they have now found a buyer who plans to build a new restaurant on the site of the former showroom that will be a future source of revenue to the city. And now, therefore, I, Jeffrey D. Shelkey, Mayor of the City of Batavia, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2019 is Clark Family Month in the City of Batavia, and I urge all citizens to recognize the many contributions of all the generations of the Clark family to our prosperity, to our history, to our community. Proclaim this 18th day of March 2019, signed Jeffrey D. Shelkey, Mayor. I move that we approve the proclamation as read.
Second.
Motion and second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Atak.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Chansett.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Moe.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Motion approved, 13 yes, no nos, 1 absent. John, would you come up, please? Before I officially present John to the proclamation, I just want to share a couple other sidebars. We picked our brains here trying to figure out what were the high points on this, and we filled the page up, but there's more to be said, really. And just a couple of anecdotal things which I think speak to the heart and soul of Avenue Motors and their role in the Batavia community. In 1953, the then Fire Chief Bud Richter got the idea that we should begin having a rescue squad in the city of Batavia that the fire department would operate. And so he went up and talked to John's father and his grandfather.
Yep.
And said, you know, can you give me a deal on buying a Chevy van, or I guess it was a van.
Suburban.
Suburban. And so they gave him quite a deal, and they were able, with the help of the Batavia Rotary Club, I think that got bought with not the city paying anything toward it. Then the fire department went out and had a one-night community drive in which they knocked on everybody's doors to buy the equipment to go into it. And the Batavia Fire Department put the first rescue squad on the street in our town in 1954 at no cost to the taxpayer. And largely that belongs to the Clark family because that's the type of thing that they did. Another thing that they did is that for many, many, many years, they were very committed to the Batavia High School driver's training program. And they supplied free of charge at no cost, I don't believe, to the school district or anybody else, the car that was used to teach many of us, and I say us because I was one of them, how to drive a car at Batavia High School when you were either a sophomore or a junior. And there were probably, before it was over with, there were thousands of Batavia High School students who got to go through the whole exercise of learning to drive a Chevy car donated by Avenue Motors. And the proclamation already talks about the commitment to boys baseball and the Rotary Club and everything else. So, John, as I present you this, I do it with the extreme thanks and gratitude and appreciation of the people of Batavia for all that your family and yourself have done to make Batavia a greater and grander place for families to live and proudly call their home.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to make some comments?
Sorry. Our philosophy was that we tried to treat customers and people the way you would want to be treated. And I hope that we achieve that. And also, you know, we started, as Jeff has said in here, as a very young age, when I was growing up, we always wanted to give back to the community because right now I'm a fourth generation. My daughters live in town, so they're fifth, and I have two grandchildren, and they're sixth. So the Clark family loves the city of Batavia, and the city of Batavia has been very, very good to us too. So we tried to give back to the community. So I appreciate this and thank the city council and the mayor and Laura for doing this.
Thank you again.
Mayor, if you don't mind, I can't let John walk away yet. Go ahead. John, what year did you guys close up the Batavia Avenue store?
Batavia Avenue?
Yeah.
It was 19. We moved out to the news facility January 18th, 1988.
1988.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how many people in this room can remember buying a vehicle off of Batavia Avenue, and that's going to show our age.
Yeah.
But I'm one of them.
Yeah. I know the mayor is.
One. And Laura.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was
No. And it's funny, I'm going through records as we speak, and I have pictures that I'm going to turn over to, or at least let Jeff scan. I'm probably try to donate them to the Historical Society of Houston Street, our street here, where it ended, right where the museum is. And, you know, my grandfather was very instrumental in, along with Roy Feast and Art Swanson, to move that over to where it is. I think they spent like $50 a piece. They bought that back then, and it took them a while to get it moved. But you know, that just you know, we as a family want to give back to Batavia. So
thank you, John.
Yeah.
Ongoing stories. Thank you, John. All right, moving to item number 11, which is the report from Batavia Main Street. We're honored to have Chris, the Executive Director, here.
Hello, good evening. I'm actually going to save you my listening to me tonight. Came up to introduce Abby Beck and Sarah Greenhagen. They are going to kind of give the Main Street Minute on my behalf tonight about some stuff that they've been working on through the Well Batavia initiative, which of course they were the founders of. So, ladies.
Some handouts I'll pass around. If you don't want to keep them, I will collect them at the end and use them. Awesome. Thank you. Again, I won't be offended. Take it back. We have a lot to do. Good evening, everyone. I'm Abby Beck, and I'm here on behalf of the Well Batavia Initiative. I know we've been up here and introduced ourselves before, so we just wanted to tell you a little bit about something we collaborated with Main Street on recently. Thank you. So Well Batavia's tagline is healthy people, healthy place, because we don't think it's enough to just inspire people to exercise or to eat healthy. There needs to be a healthy place that goes along with it that removes some of the barriers to an active, healthy lifestyle. So Sarah and I have been engaging in conversations over the past couple of years about walking and biking in Batavia. Through the documentary that we showed you last year, we have been meeting with different stakeholder groups, user groups, and talking about the future of walking. And we like to start the conversation frustration with looking back at how our culture has evolved and how our cities have evolved to look like the way that they did. Many generations ago, most Americans were dying from infectious disease because cities were kind of nasty places, and sewer systems and waste systems were not up to snuff, and you lived next to a butcher or a smelter and really nasty neighbors, and people were really susceptible to contamination and bacteria, and we all got really sick from it. So slowly but surely, people, when they could, started to leave cities to move away from these nasty neighbors. And modern zoning codes kind of followed that, where we've started separating uses. And we can see that in our own zoning codes, how there's residential, it's very delineated from commercial and industrial. And we haven't built housing here in our downtown for many decades as well. And we've largely eradicated the widespread of infectious disease, which is a big win for America. But we have replaced it then with chronic disease. And now we're dying of heart disease and obesity and diabetes and stuff like that. So that's largely to do with the fact that we don't get out of our cars as much as we used to now that we are so separated from the goods and services that we need on a daily basis. So that's kind of the backbone of the Well Batavia initiative and why we do what we do. So we've been engaging in these conversations with different groups, and that's also in part for my, as I had told you last year, I took part in the America Walks Walking College. I'm a Walking College graduate now, and part of my walking action plan was to write a pedestrian plan, much like the Bike Commission's plan, for the comprehensive plan. So interacting with these different user groups is also a part of that. So we recently sat down with our business community in partnership with Main Street to present to them the study that you have in your hands. And Sarah's going to talk about that.
She's okay for now. She's fusses then, yeah. Hello, everyone. As you can see, I'm here with Annabelle tonight. My son has the flu, so she's here with me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the grant that we received and what we did with it. It was a two-step process. So the past year we received a grant from the Active Transportation Alliance. This allowed us to gather data on modes of transportation that consumers were using to get to our downtown businesses. We gathered data using small chalkboards on business counters that read, "How did you get here today?" and allowed the consumer to tell the business whether they walked, they used a bicycle, or they used some other form of transportation. The second part of our grant was to compile this data, this local data, as well as national consumer behavior and trends that would allow us to then present it at an open forum. We completed this second part of our grant on March 7th, and we had representatives from 7 downtown businesses, the Bike Commission, and Batavia Main Street in attendance. We were very proud to get the attendance that we did, to have a pretty welcoming and open discussion with the people around the table. If you look in front of you, you have all received a copy of the report that we used. You'll find in that report that it details out transportation data by mode, sector, and day as you roll through there. That's of the businesses that had participated. As you look further into that report, you'll see that, I think maybe on page 2, there's a heat map that demonstrates the percentage of consumers that participated in that business and used active transportation. So the larger the square, the more people that got to that business using some form of active transportation. And for the purposes of the data that we collected, that would be either walking or cycling. So you can see that those larger squares have a distribution that's not just in what we would consider to be the traditional downtown of Batavia, which is very promising. People are using active transportation to get around town. The other thing that we did, if you look a little farther into your report, I think on the last couple pages, is review with the businesses the tapestry segments that were provided to us by Batavia, by Main Street USA, at their meeting with Batavia Main Street. And what we were able to do is we were able to discuss what those, she wants to talk, what those consumer behaviors are like per tapestry segment, and then connect that back to the business and describe how these behaviors can influence either purchasing behavior or not, depending on the transportation that they used.
And during our forum, we also discussed with the businesses repeating this study so that we can look specifically at that heat map and see if active transportation rates were correlated with things like sidewalk width or proximity to the bike path, proximity to a bike rack, and just look at those kind of spatial determinants of walkability. But our data set was small and our first time doing it, so we're going to keep repeating it and get more and keep looking at those things. So to wrap up, we just wanted to show you the activity we did at the end of the forum is the separate handout that we gave you. So we use this online tool called MobiCon, and with the disclaimer that we obviously have no authority to redesign our streets in any way, but we wanted to just get a conversation going on if we could play magician and magically redesign some of our downtown streets, what would you downtown businesses like to see in downtown Batavia? So we broke off into 3 groups and gave them each a section of town. So the first one is First Street, and so this is looking from Water Street down the hill, and you've got the BEI offices on one side and Tower Business on the other. And I'll point out what they did. They put in a wayfinding station, they put in a 2-way bike lane, 2 travel lanes, and a very wide sidewalk. Very skinny sidewalk on one side and a very wide sidewalk on the other side, with a little parklet, a little gathering space or space to put out tables and chairs. And then this is Shumway. So now we're standing in the middle of Shumway and Wilson, and we're looking towards the old parked post office building and the CAE building. Again, 2 lanes of traffic surrounded by a 2-way bike lane, another wayfinding sign, a really wide sidewalk, and a parklet over there by the post office. We had somebody from Karina Villa's office at our forum, and she's like, I'd like to sit outside and have lunch sometime, so I'm going to design myself a parklet. We're like, go for it. We gave them just kind of minimums for traffic lanes. We talked about the 10-foot wide sidewalk minimum for our downtown and some bike lane standards, and just let them go free again. And then this is Island, so we've just turned around and are now looking down towards City Hall, and you've got the Creamery and Brianna's behind the parking lots. And again, this group put in a very wide sidewalk, wayfinding signage, parklet, traffic lanes, and again, more very wide sidewalks. So we were pleased with these results. We noted that all of the business groups eliminated the on-street parking, and they also eliminated the turn lanes, which I'm sure everybody's going to tell me we can't do. But we gave them no restrictions. We just let them go. And it was great. The conversation that followed was all about just human scale, getting people downtown and getting people to come and stay downtown as a place. So creating those safe spaces and those comfortable places like parklets, and giving them ways and obvious direction on how to get around through the signage, and accommodating all modes of transportation. It was a really great discussion. Now, we recognize that we did not have representation, I would say an equal representation from the businesses that are along Shumway and Island. So our next phase in this, with anybody that wants to return their pamphlets, we're going to go door to door to those businesses along those streets that couldn't make it to our forum, give them a copy of the report, give them the screenshots of this redesigned street brainstorming exercise, and just talk to them one-on-one, because we're curious on what they think. So that was our little forum recap. And then just a shameless plug, our Well Batavia Festival is coming up in June from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on River Street, next to the very first farmers market of the season. And our registration is open, and it's available at wellbatavia.com. We're looking for volunteers to help us with the festival as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
And I bounced, even though I didn't have a shake that habit.
I would just offer the comment that I think the council and myself, and certainly the staff, because I've already heard that, are very impressed with the exercise you're putting us through. Really. I mean, I think there's some very positive spin can come out of this. There probably will have to be some adjustments or minor changes to it so that we keep everybody somewhat in the room happy about what's going on.
A 16-foot sidewalk there on that side doesn't look totally doable.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm saying we may have to refine a few things here, but at the end of the day, it's great to have citizens like yourself stepping up and basically volunteering to do this, and with the heart and soul in mind that you're trying to make Batavia a better place for us all to live, and more importantly for future generations to live and appreciate. and at the same time, you're kind of embracing all the history that is found in this downtown area, because there's a lot of it here. Probably one of the more historical downtowns in the Chicago area, if you put it all together. So we thank you for what you're trying to do, and it's not over with yet, and we're very excited to have talent like you in this town trying to help us find the way. So thank you.
Your Honor, can I make a comment?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I've only got a couple meetings left to
No,
do
you
this.
go
so-
ahead.
Abby, and I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Sarah.
Sarah, I got to really compliment you on doing this. And I want to go back a little bit to, I can't remember what year it was, Mike, that both Alderman O'Brien and Alderman Tenuta at that time, who was on the city council, kind of pitched the same idea on River Street. And the next thing you know, the redevelopment of River Street was born. And when we first stood up here, everybody said, oh, great idea, but we got no money, you know? And River Street happened, Houston Street happened, Wilson Street happened, and there's still two neighborhoods to make happen yet. And that's kind of what you're talking about right here. And I just encourage you to keep going, charge forward, because without your kind of interest and your kind of enthusiasm, it won't happen. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
May I just say one thing also? It is a step in the right direction. Thank you for your efforts. I am a strong proponent for shared streets, and this is ideally for shared streets, where, as on River Street, we have no curbs, slow mileage, 15 miles an hour, and it's a shared street like European streets, and I think that's a direction we ought to be heading ourselves into. So I definitely applaud you guys and thank you for that. And just keep that in the back of your mind. What we have on River Street called the Woonurf, I think we should be looking into that further. Thank you.
Lastly, Sarah, this is on TV tonight, so you can go to YouTube, and your
Yes.
child, it's your child's first premiere on YouTube.
Save that for her.
Yeah, I think you should save that and play it at the girl's wedding.
Yeah. Your first on-camera appearance.
Thank you. Okay, moving to item number 12, which is ordinance 19-20, annexing 505 Pine Street. Alderman Brown, do you have this?
I do, Your Honor, if I can get it back up here, but I can tell you what it is. As we've been doing for quite some time now, Community Development Department, under the leadership of Scott Buning, has been working to kind of go through the town and pick out all these little unincorporated islands within the city. We've been doing quite a bit of them. These are two more that we've got in front of us tonight. The reason why these are in front of us tonight, not on a consent agenda, is because they go out and they try to get people to voluntarily annex. The ones that are on the consent agenda are the ones that do voluntarily annex. These two were asked to be on the regular agenda tonight because they did not voluntarily cooperate, I guess you could say. We send letters out, we contact them and ask them if they would be willing to or would be interested in annexing their property. These two did not respond whatsoever back. That doesn't mean that they're against it, they just didn't respond. So that's why they're on the agenda tonight, in case anybody had any questions. They are currently, the first one on Pine Street is currently being serviced by our utilities, and of course the road in front of it is being maintained and provided by the city of Batavia. The one on McKee Street is not hooked up to the utilities, but the road in front of it is being maintained by the city of Batavia. So they do benefit from all of, or could benefit from all of what the city has to offer. They are completely surrounded by other annexed parts of the city, so it just makes sense what staff has been trying to do. So unless anybody has any questions, I'll make a motion to recommend approval of ordinance 19-20, annexing 505 Pine Street.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Metzler for the approval of ordinance 19-20. Any discussion? Alderman Metzler?
Just clarification, Scott, keep me honest. If I remember correctly from our committee discussion, this one actually turned out to be voluntary?
This one did turn out to be voluntary, so the ordinance is involuntarily annexing it, but these folks did actually submit a petition.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark. Aye. Transit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Weitzler.
Aye.
Moe.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Ordinance 19-20 is approved, 13 yes, no nos, 1 absent. Moving to item 13, which is ordinance 19-21, annexing of 36W 283 McKee Street. Alderman Brown.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Brown, second by Metzler, or is it Millet? Whoever.
I'll take Millet.
Sounds the same over there. For the approval of ordinance 19-21. Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Millet.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Ordinance 19-21 is approved, 13 yes, no nos, 1 absent. Okay, moving to item 14, which is ordinance 19-06, authorizing the execution of an annexation agreement with Winding Creek, 2500 and 37W330 McKee Street, with MI Homes of Chicago as the applicant. Alderman Brown?
Thank you, Your Honor. This property's been in front of us a few other times over the past few years, many years, I guess you could say. Looks like we're finally going to get to the end on this one. Ordinance 1906 was reviewed and recommended for approval by the Committee of the Whole on February 26th. We also conducted a public hearing at that time, at which time no one did speak from the audience. Plan Commission has done everything they were supposed to do. They worked very well on some of their recommendations on this. And since the Committee of the Whole, there has been a few articles that have been changed or added to the ordinance. One of them was to let's see, taking the phrase referring to amending the comprehensive plan was removed because we just approved that at the last city council meeting. There was also some discussion at the Committee of the Whole about putting signs at the end of some stub streets as they're going to phase this property out. That's the signs will say future street improvement ahead or develop or in the future. And then there was an article that was added where city staff will use its best efforts to review the building permit submittals within 30 days. And then there was a new article that was added where it says where it addressed the city's fees in the future. And then also there was a exhibit that was added to replace the, along with that article, there was an exhibit put in there to replace and update the fees for the city code. So I'm happy to see this finally get to the point where it's at. I'm happy that we're finally going to get this piece of property developed. It's going to furnish or supply different types of housing. It's going to be some townhouses with some single family, or some townhouses with some first floor master bedrooms on it, which has been a big demand for the community for quite some time. And then it's also going to be some single family homes that are going to border the existing single family homes. The park is going to be the Geneva Park District, and everything's been all worked out. Staff's done a great job working with the developer on this, from what I understand, and Committee of the Whole made a recommendation for approval, so I make the motion we approve ordinance 19-06.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Rosato for the approval of ordinance 19-06. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Millet.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, that one is approved by a vote of 13 yes, no nos, 1 absent. I would just note, I believe the total number of units in this is 201. It's 133 single-family and 88 townhouses.
That sounds right.
And if you combine that with the 242 that we now have approved and have under construction out at Wind Energy and Kirk Road, that's 443 new living units that are now been sanctioned to be built within the community of Batavia. And is offering some new products and some new design styles, and as you already have mentioned, some first floor bedrooms, which seems to be a real hot product in the eyes of a lot of people. So I'm pleased that we've been able to bring some interested housing design into this community, and these are all, you know, not at a real high-end price, but certainly not at a low price, but I think they will be very attractive to a number of the folks that want to move into Batavia. I'm hearing people who stop in the office here, one of the things that is coming in the door here with some regularity are people who say, well, I'm interested in moving to Batavia because my children and my grandchildren have moved here. And it's older people, 60, 70, 80 years of age, who are saying, you know, I'd like to find some house in Batavia that has the first floor master and all this other stuff. Well, we finally got somebody listening to us here. So I think there's going to be some of this stuff will sell pretty rapidly once they get it up and put it on the market. So
I think another thing that's worthwhile mentioning is the approval of this is probably going to make the redevelopment of the Sam's Club property even more attractive, because obviously retail likes rooftops. So there's 200 more rooftops that are going to be right next to the Sam's Club property. So,
very good. Moving then to ordinance item 15, which is ordinance 19-14, approving a conditional use permit for a motor vehicle sales and leasing new and used internet-based establishment in the DMU Downtown Mixed Use District at 321 East Wilson Street. Alderman Brown, do you have this?
I do have this, but I do have a question for Scott before we get into it. Scott, we've got ordinance 19-13 in here too, right? Amending the text.
Approved under the consent agenda.
That was on the consent, okay. All right, so ordinance 19-14, approving a conditional use permit for the internet vehicle sales at 321 East Wilson. This is something that we've had in front of us kind of recently in the last year, maybe 2 years. I think we've approved 2 or 3 other ones very similar to it, where we've got someone like Mr. Anger that is a business in town that's looking to get into the vehicle dealership business, become a licensed Illinois vehicle dealer. In order to do that, we have to pass this ordinance that we have in front of us tonight. Alderman Wolf wanted to have this on the agenda tonight rather than just on the consent agenda, is because it's an upcoming thing that we think we see. It's providing for existing businesses to enhance their business in other ways than what they're currently doing. And it's also a way that we're going to be bringing in additional retail tax dollars into our town. The petitioner is here tonight if anybody has any questions for him, but he's not planning on, nor could he be allowed to have any vehicles at the property. So it's something that he is strictly going to be doing via the internet. And I think kind of the consensus that we had at the committee of the whole was we wish him all the luck in the world, because the better he does, the better the city does. And we hope that his business grows to a point that he has to actually move and start, stocking cars maybe. So with that, I will move for approval of ordinance 19-14.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Wolf for the motion to approve ordinance 19-14. Any discussion?
Your Honor, Alderman Brown stated it pretty well, but I just think it's a great reuse of a downtown business, or an additional use of a downtown business that doesn't require any more parking, doesn't require any more space on the property or anything, but it will generate sales tax dollars. So I think especially for the downtown mixed use district, this is a real bonus for our town to have these type of things. I think it's really important when we can allow this type of business to be in a district that normally this wouldn't be allowed in, because everybody envisions a dealer having stock or space or transactions constantly occurring. This really needs nothing more than a computer terminal and an employee to operate it. So I think it's a really great use of space. It's a creative idea to move into an office downtown. So I'm really excited about it. I don't know if Darren wants to come up and talk about the business, but we got him here.
If anything, I was going to say, I appreciate everyone's time, effort, and energy, and the positive feedback in pushing this forward.
Well, we look forward to you bringing this innovative idea to our community, and we're hopeful to work with you to grow your business and grow some revenue for the community. So we thank you for choosing to put yourself on East Wilson Street in Batavia, in the middle of really where the real action is starting to take place over there.
For sure.
Yeah, and as long as he's up here, maybe he could give us his internet, his email address, or how's he going to conduct this business?
Yeah, why don't you tell us what this address is?
It's fuzzydicemotors.com. That'll be the web address. We're still trying to figure out if we're going to put both businesses together and do insurance and dealer services. We don't know yet. We just want to get that license number so then we can start
going,
figuring everything. Yeah.
Very good.
But I'll let you guys know. I promise.
Yeah, I'm sure the Chamber of Main Street will have you back down here once you get your feet on the ground up there, and you can tell us then all phone numbers and addresses.
Yep.
Everything, so welcome to Batavia, we really appreciate you.
Awesome, wonderful. Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, we have a motion and second on the floor for the approval of the ordinance. Clerk call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Jansit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Ordinance is approved, 13 yes, no nos, 1 absent. Okay, moving to item 15, which is ordinance 19-14, approval of a conditional use permit for remote, or that's just, moving to 16, which is Raising Cane, 1998 McKee Street in Batavia. And this includes A, ordinance 1915, amending the zoning map plan development overlay. B, ordinance 1916, conditional use permit for a drive-through restaurant. And C, resolution 19-027-R, preliminary final plat of Raising Cane subdivision. Alderman Brown, will you present this?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to talk about them all at the same time, but we have to approve them one at a time. Ordinance 19-15 is the amending of the zoning map. Ordinance 19-16 is the conditional use for the drive-through. And Resolution 19-27-R is the preliminary and final plat for Raising Cane subdivision. And I just want to say that I think, from what I'm being told, talking with staff and what we were presented at the committee of the whole, there's really not much to talk about here. This was pretty much a slam dunk by the time we got to the committee of the whole. Plan Commission and staff worked with the property purchaser and Raising Cane. They went through some changes as far as setbacks. They went through some changes as far as landscaping. They discussed the drive-through. There's been discussion about how many lots there could be, the size of the lots. There's going to be a 4-lot subdivision in this. One lot is for Raising Canes. The other lot is for another outlot about the same size as Raising Canes. A lot is going to be what's going to be for the street right away, and then the 4th lot is a larger lot that's going to be off to the south of the old Avenue property there. And that's still, both those 2 lots, I think it's lot 2 and the larger lot are yet to be decided on what's going to go in there. But what we know for right now for sure is Raising Cane is very interested in coming into Batavia. I believe they have a representative here tonight. I think they're planning on getting started as soon as they can, and they want to be up and running before the end of the year. And unless somebody has any questions, like I say, Plan Commission and staff did a great job of presenting it to the committee of the whole, and I don't think we have anything really more to be concerned about at this point. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 19-15.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Malay, for the approval of ordinance 19-15, the amending of the zoning map and plan development overlay. Any discussion on that one? Clerk call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Jansit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Abstain.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Motion is approved, 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent, 1 abstention. Alderman O'Brien, you want to tell them why you abstained?
Company I work for is doing another development for Kensington.
Very good, thank you. All right, motion's approved. Alderman Brown?
I move we approve ordinance 19-16, which is the conditional use permit for the drive-through restaurant.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown, second by Alderman Metzler for the approval of ordinance 19-16, conditional use permit for a drive-through restaurant. Any discussion? Clerk call the roll, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Jansit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye. Oh, abstain. Excuse me.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
That motion is approved, 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent, 1 abstention. Okay, moving to C, resolution 19-027-R, preliminary final plat of Raising Cane subdivision. Alderman Brown?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Brown. Second by Alderman Rosato for the approval of resolution 19-027-R. Any further discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Abstain.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Ordinance or Resolution 19-027-R is approved by a vote of 12 yes, no nos, 1 absent, and 1 abstention.
Your Honor, I do think we have somebody from Raising Cane here if they want to say anything, if it's all right with you.
We have a gentleman from Kensington.
Yeah, I'll just introduce Olivia. John from Kensington Development Partners. Olivia, the area director, who's in charge of all the restaurants in Illinois and will be in charge of Batavia. She's happy to be here.
Hello, everyone. We're excited to come to Batavia. We're hoping to open up before the year end, and I think that we will work very well with you all because we are very actively involved in the community, and we look to hire within the community in terms of our high schools and people who live around here. So it's not only bringing jobs to the community, but just the partnerships that you'll see that will form with everybody inside of here. It'll be an amazing partnership.
So, as long, again, Main Street will probably get you up here before you know it, or not Main Street, but the Chamber, but as long as you're on TV, and Raising Cane is kind of new to the area.
Sure.
What does Raising Cane do?
Yeah, so Raising Cane sells quality chicken finger meals. We've been doing it since 1996. We're founded out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it's the only thing that we sell. So it depends on how big your appetite is. Are you small appetite, 3 fingers? Box combo is our most popular, which has a little bit of everything. It's 4 chicken tenders, coleslaw, French fries, and our famous cane sauce, which is what we're known for. So we don't have barbecue sauce, we don't have ranch dressing. We make our cane sauce in-house, and that's what people come and crave.
So how many Raising Cane restaurants do we currently have in Illinois?
And in Illinois, we have 6 right now.
I serve as the chairman of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning's Council of Mayors, which is all the cities in the 7-county area. I also have one of the seats on one of the RTA boards, so I get into have these regional conversations. I just want to share with you that the most recent meeting at both of those institutions, I got barraged by questions from some of my fellow peers about how did I get a Raising Cane in Batavia?
We are very popular.
You are very popular. You got a real fan club out there, and there's what's interesting, many of these ladies and gentlemen are talking to me are at the stage in life with their grandparents. And this seems to be a real popular place with grandparents to bring grandchildren.
That is
what
correct.
I'm gathering from talking to these other mayors about it. But you've got a lot of suitors in the room or in the region out there that are hoping they can talk you into coming into their town. So
We are we're looking to expand in the Chicagoland area. So, like I said, we're very excited to be in Batavia and anywhere else that anyone wants us.
well, I don't think you're going to have to look very hard because they'll be knocking on your door if you want to give me some business cards. I'll pass them out.
Thank you.
Alderman Chanzit?
Just very briefly, I happen to have tried your chicken once before. It's
Yes.
fantastic. I just happened to notice that your chicken place is next to another famous chicken place throughout Chicagoland, and the mayor had said that you guys might have a nice friendly competition going on. What sets you apart from other chicken places in town? I'm just curious. I know what it tastes like, but
Sure. So we are fresh, never frozen, marinated 24 hours, and then hand battered as you order it. So it's very different. I mean, chicken tenders has always been a staple for me when I go to a restaurant and I can't figure out anything to eat. And now it's Raising Cane's has kind of ruined it for me because anytime I go anywhere else, I can taste the difference between frozen and fresh. But our chicken tenders are very juicy. And like I said, it's our cane sauce and our Texas toast that really sets us apart from everyone else.
And then are you open on Sundays when I get my
We are.
chicken crazy? Thank you.
We are.
Well, welcome to Batavia. We can't wait for you to get the door open.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, moving then to 17, which is Resolution 19-030-R, approving City of Batavia new sidewalk policy, the 100-year plan. Alderman Wolf, do you have this?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Your Honor. For the fiscal year of 2019, $100,000 was budgeted for new sidewalks to fill in gaps in the public sidewalks and placing sidewalk where none currently exists. In rough numbers, just to give you an idea of how this plan is, at a $100,000 level, it would take approximately 100 years to install all the current missing sidewalks in Batavia. That's not like the replacements or the repairs that we talked about earlier. but just in filling in all the gaps where we don't have sidewalks. One of the things that we have always tried to do since probably 2000 is to work with the Safe Routes to School to try to use grant funding from that to fill in around the schools. And that really is where we radiated out from with the plan that we have in place here. One of the main things that we want to do is to keep constantly planning and keep reviewing that, so that way we try to stay up with and as current as we can around all the schools and all the areas where it makes the most sense to try to put these sidewalks in. Before, we would double up a street on each side with sidewalks where there are none. We'd really want to try to get one all the way through on one side of the street so that we can at least have a safe pathway down each and every block. This has been expanded, and hopefully we'll be able to, and we'll review this every year at budget time to see how much we can fund each year to try to continue this program, so that way we do fill in all those gaps. I think with what we talked about earlier, that it really is important to try to do that every time we get another block, another, half a mile or mile of these sidewalks in. We can put people on the sidewalks and take them out of their cars in front of the schools. And everybody knows that that is the biggest congestion problem we have twice a day on the Wilson Street Bridge, both at the time school starts and the time school ends. I think it's really important that we really start pushing to get some of that done to try to cut down the traffic and the congestion around all the schools that we have. So I think it's a really important thing. I think it's really good that we've developed this and that this is moving forward. And then it just has to be incumbent upon us as the council members to try to make sure we keep funding this every year.
Ellen?
Lucy?
Yeah, I agree with everything you've said. And I know that everyone agrees with walkability, and we've talked about the health benefits of it, and we've talked about the community benefits of it. But one thing we haven't really talked about is the importance of, or the influence of walkability on property values, residential property values. And there's a direct link, based on a lot of the studies, of communities that have strong walkability have stronger property values. And I think that we often, for the past 6 to 8 years, we have not been budgeting for the sidewalk program because we think we have to put money in the streets, or we think we need to put money here or there. It's just not a priority. But I think that if we keep in mind going forward the impact that walkability has on real estate values, and then on our equalized assessed value, and then on our real estate taxes, it may make it more sense to make it a priority in the coming years. So I hope that that happens. Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'll make the motion that we approve resolution 30-R, authorizing approval of the new sidewalk policy 100-year plan.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman Stark, for the approval of Resolution 19-030-R, the approval of the City of Batavia new sidewalk 100-year plan. Any further discussion? I just want to publicly say I'm very proud of the staff and certainly the committee here and talking this through and getting this into place. I think this will be a valuable asset for the Batavia community to have. And I think it certainly sends a very loud and clear message to any other developer that wants to come into Batavia that if you're going to build here, we're going to expect you to put sidewalks in front of the houses that you're building. And some of us who have been here a long time can remember there are several blocks in Batavia in older neighborhoods that have this, I don't want no sidewalk in front of my place, no time, and they come down here and get in your face about it. And that's been there for a long time. There's not many, but there's a couple of hard-shelled neighborhoods, and some of you here live real nearby some of those folks, but that is just the way it is. But I think it's a commitment by the city here tonight to really show that we really do want to make this a walkability community and leave a legacy of people having the opportunity to have exercise and nice property values and all the good things that go from great neighborhoods. So we're trying to create some here tonight with this commitment. Further discussion, the clerk call the roll.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ure.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Jansit.
Aye.
Motion's approved, 13 yes, no no's, no absence. Okay, moving 18, which is Resolution 19-032-R, authorizing execution of IDOT engineering agreement and resolution to appropriate motor fuel tax funds for the design engineering services for Prairie Street project improvements, Pine Street to Wilson Street, in the amount of $300,000. Alderman Wolf, you have this?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This is an IDOT requirement that we have to pass a resolution to specifically call out the motor fuel fund, tax funds to be used for the Prairie Street improvements. Basically just a formality that has to happen during the process of doing the reconstruction of Prairie Street. Anybody have any questions? Pretty simple. We just wanted to talk about it because, again, there's a lot of things that have to happen after we say, yes, we want to rebuild Prairie Street. The same thing with Main Street. There's a lot of steps that we have to follow, and to get the money and to get the approvals from IDOT, you have to follow their stuff to a T.
We're going to get the money from IDOT. We got to have these babies under construction by October 2020.
Yep, and that's why we're trying to get every last little thing done and going on it. So with that, I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution 19-32-R, authorizing execution of the IDOT Engineering Services Agreement Form and the resolution to appropriate motor fuel tax MFT funds for the design engineering services for Prairie Street reconstruction project, Pine Street to Wilson Street, in the amount of $300,000.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman Metzler, for the approval of Resolution 19-32-R. Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Millet.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit.
Aye.
Resolution 19-32-R is approved by a vote of 13 yes, no no's, 1 absent. Moving to 19. Resolution 19-037-R, approval of voluntary separation agreement between the City of Batavia and Christopher Cudworth. Laura, do you have this one?
Sure. So this is a mutually agreeable voluntary separation agreement that is for the voluntary resignation for Christopher Cudworth and a release of all claims in exchange for 30 days pay. Those are the basic terms of it.
And we discussed this the other night in the executive session. Somebody care to make a motion for its approval?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Alderman Ur made the motion, and Atek, or Salvati second. Any further discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Brown.
Aye.
Rosato.
Aye.
Atack.
Aye.
Stark.
Aye.
Transit.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Salvati.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Millet.
Aye.
Resolution 19-037-R is approved, 13 yes, no no's, 1 absent. Okay, 20, the administrator's report. Laura.
Well, it seems appropriate to start with Human Resources has been extremely busy because we have a number of open positions here at the city. Some are related to positions that were created in this year's budget, and then others are there due to vacancy. Just heard about the communication coordinator position, and we have an engineering intern position, an information systems technician, a manager of electric operations, a metering technician. Our receptionist position was just filled. A candidate will be starting on March 25th. A streets crew leader and a streets maintenance worker. So that's really been keeping the department extremely busy this year. But if you are interested in any open positions with the City of Batavia, you can always head to our webpage, and it's very obvious where to go from there if you're interested in employment. But something else that I wanted to talk about with regard to the website, it was mentioned earlier today when we approved the contract for the sidewalk program for 2019 that you can find a map that shows all of the different sidewalks that will be worked on this year. There are a lot of interesting maps that you can find from the homepage on the city's website. If you just scroll down to the bottom of the page, it says City maps, and there you can get maps that tell you what roads will be under construction this year, where we're doing resurfacing, where we're doing crack filling, where we're doing sidewalk maintenance and replacement, where we're building new sidewalks. It's a really helpful tool that unfortunately, it's not a very prominent part of our homepage, so people might miss it if they're not looking for it. Also wanted to make mention, we've got Main Street here with us today, and it's Restaurant Madness Week this week. So I got a postcard in the mail. That is your coupon for all of the many restaurants that you can frequent during this Restaurant Madness Week. If not, you can go to the Main Street website, and you can also print out the Restaurant Madness coupon there. You do need to have the actual coupon when you go to the restaurant and present that. We also have early voting that's happening here at City Hall. It's this week through the 22nd, and also next week, the 25th through the 28th. And that happens right if you enter the north entrance at City Hall. You'll find it there from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Also wanted to follow up. We had a great meeting here at City Hall last week prior to the Committee of the Whole meeting. It was the residents who are adjacent to the Mahoney Creek tributary. And there was a great deal of discussion about what type of maintenance occurs in that area, as well as the need for an overall vision for that area, and just a collaboration between the residents in that area, staff, members of city council. And so we're going to present all of the residents in that area with a summary of that discussion, and then talk about some of the steps that we're going to be taking in the future to bring that vision piece to fruition. Also, yard waste. In this period of time in late March is when you can put yard waste out and you don't have to put a sticker on it. It has to be out there on your normal waste collection day. Last weekend, I think probably your boots would have sunk up to your ankles trying to walk in our yards, but hopefully we'll get some drier weather this week, and anything that you collect over the weekend, you can put out with no stickers on your regular waste pickup day next week. Also, tomorrow, if you're interested, at the Committee of the Whole will be the annual reports for the fire department, the police department, and also for human resources. So that those should be very interesting presentations. Letting you know some of the various community development and economic development activities that are going on. The Winding Creek Comprehensive Plan Amendment was approved on March 4th, and we just had it on the agenda tonight. It was approved. So now the developer will have about 9 months in order to close on the property and complete all their entitlements. Work continues on the Windmill Landing site. That's the one on Hawks Drive, the second senior living community that's being built there. And work is underway on both of the spec buildings that are located on Nagel Boulevard on our northeast side. We continue to review permits for MetroNet, so if they haven't made it to your neighborhood, don't worry, they're coming. We have 3 underground and 1 overhead permit in active review right now. We've also received plans for replatting of the Wilson Spuler parcel that is the one that was sold to Habitat for Humanity, and they're planning 4 units there. And construction continues on the Funway project. I just drove by there yesterday. It's amazing how much has been added to Funway over there, and they're anticipating that they're going to be done with that around Memorial Day. And work continues on our new downtown restaurants, the Bocaditos restaurant at 109 East Wilson, Oak and Swine restaurant at 107 East Wilson, and Riverside Pizza restaurant at 142 West Wilson. Some unfortunate news, the bidder for the city property at 2150 Main Street has withdrawn their bid. So that property is no longer under contract. So at a future committee of the whole meeting, we should discuss how we want to proceed with that. And then also just to announce some upcoming events for Special Olympics Illinois. Special Olympics Spring Games are Sunday, May 5th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at Marmion Academy. Cop on a Rooftop fundraiser, that's always a fun one, on Friday, May 17th from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. at our all the Dunkin' Donuts locations, Randall and Wilson, and also Route 31 in Houston. And then that's in preparation for and to provide support for the Special Olympics Summer Games, which are Friday, June 7th through June 9th in Normal West High School. Is that right, Chief? Thank you. And that's all I have, unless you have some questions for me.
Questions for Laura?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, committee reports, community development, Alderman Brown.
Well, tomorrow's committee of the whole meeting starts at 7 p.m. The plan commission for Wednesday has been canceled. Historic preservation for next Monday is scheduled for 5:30. On tomorrow's agenda for the committee of the whole, we've got 3 more properties that are looking, or that we're going to be annexing. It's again filling in these little donut holes that we're trying to take care of. And then the Barkai Farms establishment of the SSA. This is something the staff's been working with Barkai Farms on. They want to locate a monument sign, I'm going to call it, an identity sign at their entrance. And in order to do that, we're requiring that they establish an SSA for that area. So those are the items that we're going to have in front of us for CDC. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Any questions? Government services, Alderman Heaton?
Government Services doesn't have anything on the agenda for the rest of the month at this time.
City services, Alderman Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tomorrow night, we have a purchase truck from Monroe Truck Equipment tomorrow night. And then a week from Tuesday, we have proven fire code variances for South River Street for an above-ground fuel tank. That's it.
Your Honor, we have nothing for tomorrow night, and March 26th, Committee of the Whole. We will talk, we'll be discussing an execution of task order 15 with Engineering Enterprises.
Okay.
Mike, I think we do have the wastewater treatment update tomorrow night.
Oh, tomorrow night, yes.
We have other business. Anybody? Alderman Chancellor.
I'd just like to remark about the trip we just had down to Springfield. I found it to be probably one of the best trips that I've had going downstate. I am probably more optimistic now about the things that we can accomplish. That said, there are so many new legislators that have joined Springfield, a handful of do-gooders who I think will get some projects done. So I'm looking forward to that. But that said, so many numbers were thrown at us during this trip that are staggering. $20 billion with a B in road projects that are still 24. Thank you. Unfunded. I'm sorry, $2 billion, I believe, is what they were planning on funding. So it's woefully underfunded. And that doesn't even count money on universities and whatnot. $8 billion, B with a B, billion dollars in unpaid bills still sitting on the comptroller's desk. And even if recreational marijuana is legalized this year, it's only going to draw something like $200 million with an M million dollars in fees its first year. So it's a complete drop in the bucket. And even if the progressive tax is passed, that's only $3 billion with a B dollars towards all this work that needs to be done. That said, I am optimistic that former St. Charles Mayor DeWitt, I believe, is the Republican on the Transportation Committee. I believe it's possible transportation dollars might start flowing our way. And I was very impressed by the new leadership of IDNR and of IDOT. It sounds like they really, truly were listening to us. And while I know you have not been optimistic about state dollars coming our way, it sounds like they're certainly open to talking about projects.
They're open to talk about anything.
They acknowledge that there is no money, so Talk is cheap. I acknowledge that, but I don't want to steal the. If anyone else who was on that trip would like to talk, I would say that I feel better this year. That's all.
Alderman Mitchell?
Yeah, I don't know if I expressed so much of the optimism, but I will say that compared to years past, it was better.
Sure.
That being said, I am skeptical, given the fact that, to your point, it was like 30% new legislators down there in between the House and the Senate, and not to mention directors at agencies that one of them was day 9 on the job. So yeah, it's pretty easy to have a lot of optimism when you haven't had to deal with things for too long. So I do take that in stride and recognize it. That being said, yes, a lot of the discussions were about capital expenses that they had not yet provided funded for. Unfortunately, a lot of the conversations around those options, while creative, I had to wonder at, not to pick on anyone in particular in those. I'm hopeful, but I'm also going to be a realist that the state is woefully unfunded, and I do think that the state as a whole is going to be in for some rough times getting out of this mess.
Oh, Alderman Earl, you went to.
Yeah, just to add on to that, it was interesting, enlightening. I'm not sure what word to use when IDOT was surprised that there were different rules in the different districts. So they were surprised that we were not allowed to have the Hawk system. So I don't know if he's gotten back to Laura yet, but he said it would take less than 2 years to get back to us.
I'm kind of glad I wasn't there.
This one would have jumped across the table. I mean, he was like this close to Cullerton, ready to yell at him last year. You work for us.
We only have 2 more people that we need to replace Springfield. The top 2 people.
Alderman Earl?
I have a different other. I'm looking for an alderman to join me to get on a future Cal meeting a discussion about the video gambling in Batavia. I would like to have a discussion and talk about putting a moratorium on how many we have. Just as I drive around town, I'm getting, unfortunately, a little fed up with all the signage. I just don't think it's what I want in our town, or I don't want a lot more of it, let's put it that way. So I'd be interested in having a further discussion at a Cal meeting if somebody would join me.
I'd be willing to join you.
Okay.
I would too.
Alderman Earl and Ray have asked for that, so that on the business to do.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I got a little bit to say under the mayor's report. I apologize, it'll take a couple of minutes here, but first I want to start out on a sad note. We learned today that Ron Dakin, who had been a city electrician for 25 years and retired probably 10, 15 years ago now, passed away, and he's going to be waked this coming Thursday up at Moss. But Ron was, as I say, with us for 25 years. Very dedicated electrician. He was always kind of his own man. He always kind of did it his way, but he always seemed to do it the right way, and he was not afraid to crawl up on poles in the worst weather and put things back together. And he used to tell me stories about being here in 1967 when Batavia High School got hit by the tornado and part of Furnace Electric got blown down, and he had a lot of interesting tales about stuff. So very sorry to hear of his passing, but he was one who certainly did the city of Batavia a number of positive services over the years. I want to take just a moment and tell you about my adventures last Thursday and Friday. I wasn't able to go to the Springfield junket this year because I had previous commitments. And on Thursday, my commitment is that I represent the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning on what they call the Policy Committee, which is the committee that approves any federal legislation, alterations to routes or changes in money. It's a very interesting place to be, because this past Thursday we were presented with the plan to rebuild South Lakeshore Drive in Chicago. Now, we had heard the plan in a previous meeting, and the city's transportation commissioner was a lady by the name of Rebecca Scheinfeld. I have a lot of respect for her. She's a professional in the business. She knows transportation. She previously worked for Mayor Bloomberg in New York City for several years and was quite well recognized there. And Mayor Emanuel brought her into Chicago, and she really has professionalized a lot of things in there. But one of the things they needed to do with the plan was, now this is a federal, Lakeshore Drive is a federally regulated and approved highway going through Chicago. As you know, it's all right there on the lakefront. And as it goes south out of the lake past McCormick Place and all that, you get down and it gets past the Museum of Science and Industry, and you get into what we call Jackson Park. Now that's where the 1893 World's Fair was hosted, and it was where the book was written, The Devil at the White Sea, because that was the story of this murderer that killed 13 or 14 young ladies that were there. So there certainly is a lot of history down there. Well, now that area has been cited by the United States government, and specifically by Barack and Michelle Obama, as the potential site of their presidential library. And if that is to be built there, that will be probably an easily $200 million investment into that area, which I went down there and looked at it a few weeks back, and I can tell you it desperately needs to have something happen to it. The park is just kind of sitting there. It has a lot of crime activity in it. It is surrounded by a lot of vacancy and empty stores, and homes are falling down, and people living on the street. It needs some serious restoration. And so the city of Chicago had jumped at the idea of kind of taking Jackson Park and turning it around into something more productive than what it is at the moment. But it's in a federally protected piece of property, and there's this group of folks called Save the Parks in Chicago, and they don't want anything done to the parks. So needless to say, this gets to be highly controversial, and as a member of the committee, I got several emails last week or the last couple of weeks from people who didn't like the idea that Jackson Park was going to get messed with by the CMAP committee. So here we move up to last Thursday, and we get in there, and I sit there as the suburban representative. So my friends at the city say to me, we need somebody to make the motion to approve Jackson Park to move Lakeshore Drive away from the lake, put it more into the park, and then we're going to build a nice park right on the lakefront. And I mean, it's going to really enhance highway safety down there, local streets. I mean, I couldn't see anything wrong with it. So it came time to make the motion. So I say, and this is what I said, I'll share this with you. I said, I had a great-grandfather that was one of the first pharmacists in the western suburbs, and he lived at 203 North Washington Avenue in Batavia, which I didn't say who lived there now, but it was my family home at one time. And when he was a pharmacist in those days, he participated in an exhibit at the World's Fair in 1893 as a pharmacist, because they were then trying to market some new drug products that they were putting out for various things. And he would go into the fair and work it. And they had two very colorful apothecary jars sitting on the display in there. And he later bought those two apothecary jars, and I have them in my home. Very proud of those. They're very nicely appearing. I still have them to this day. So I said, because I had this kind of old-time relationship with Jackson Park, and my grandfather had been great-grandfather had been one of the active participants in that, I felt it was appropriate that I will make the motion to approve the moving of Lakeshore Drive and for that to allow for the Obama Library to get built. So I made the motion, so I'm the one that did it.
Okay.
Needless to say, not everybody in the room was happy with me when they let me know that as I was walking out the door. But as a result, the city of Chicago now has the clearing to go ahead and put the Obama Library down there to do some massive restorations and recoveries of that neighborhood that I think will. And as I mentioned to some people, I said, if you look at the career of President Obama, he was a fatherless teen living in that area as a child, and look who he became. And hopefully by having his library there, maybe that will inspire some other people in the area down there to see that and think, well, gee, I could do the same thing with my life. So, I think there's a lot to be said in the good for this thing to happen there. So anyway, they went ahead and voted on it at the policy committee, and it passed unanimously. And it wasn't, I don't think, because I made the motion, but I made the motion. So I get the blame or the credit, however one wants to look at it. And I had one woman say, you know, that's going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And so I said, well, I guess so. That's the story with that one. So then the next day, I'm invited, apparently I was the only public official from Batavia who was invited to come to Fermilab last Friday for the groundbreaking of the new accelerator. So I pull up out there, and as you may remember, that was the morning of that horrendous killing in New Zealand. And so suddenly security had taken a new appearance out at Fermilab, and you walked in, and there was this young security guard at the gate, and he says to me, Mayor, I know who you are, but there's cameras on me, and I have to look at everybody's license, so could you please show me your driver's license? So that was fine. I mean, I fully understood what this was all about. So anyway, we got in there, and so then they got to bring so there was the new governor, there were 2 U.S. senators, Durbin and Duckworth, and then there were 3 congressional men in there, and there was a number of state representatives. And then along with it, they invited those folks to speak each for 2 minutes. And then there were 5 foreign countries represented by their consul generals in India, Britain, France, Italy, and Poland were there. And they're all going to make financial contributions to this new facility that they're going to build at Fermilab. And I guess I was honored to be there. Number one is the mayor of Batavia. I mean, it looks to be, by every description, going to be something very powerful and positive for our community. It's going to be over $1 billion is going to be spent on it. It's going to probably give Fermilab another 40 or 50 years of useful life, and it'll probably create, 15 to 2,000 new jobs on the Fermilab site. So it's a lot of positives to it. So, and it's previewing a whole new realm of scientific research that's never been undertaken before. So, and I think Fermilab's record and some of the things they've been able to produce as spin-offs of their activities out there are something that we all can be very proud of. I would cite one as the MRI medical research machine, which the technology that allows for that to put itself into action, was developed at Fermilab. There's a big plaque out there now hanging on the wall that says that. So, some very nice things have happened there. I can remember being there as a reporter back in 1972, and Alderman Brown's father was then the mayor of Batavia, and that was 50 years ago plus. And so I was there for the first, and I got to be there for the second, although I had different positions in the 50-year span. But, in 50 years, I can think of very, very few negative things to say about Fermilab. I mean, the folks that are out there running it now are many of them live right here in Batavia. I mean, you would think if there was something that was going to potentially be going wrong out there, they wouldn't bring their families into this town and let them live here. And if you look at how they've treated that site and all the wildlife and all the return to nature that they've allowed to take place in there, and all the walkability and the bike trails, and I mean, they've been right with us from day one as far as things are happening. And, if you start talking to people in the downtown area about why are you in downtown Batavia, why do you want to build your business here, especially in the restaurant world, I think there's a lot to be said by people that are saying, well, I think I'd like to get into a town where they're going to have all these visiting scientists coming in, and they're all going to be looking for various ethnic restaurants to eat in, and so I'd like to come into Batavia and open up a restaurant. And so I know that's happening because I've talked to people who that's their line of thinking. So we really, I think, are in a very fortunate position right now. Excuse me. As a community, we really got some positive things going on here, and I think it's going to serve us very well for the future. So hopefully what we did last Friday will generate another 50 years of life to Fermilab and present some new scientific signs of discovery. So I end that on a positive note. Alderman Brown, you want to make a motion?
I move we adjourn this meeting.
Motion by Brown. You have a second?
Second.
Clerk, take a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.